And we are recording. So, hey, everybody. Officially welcome to the May 2nd community meeting for Cloud Custodian. Hello. If it's anyone's first meeting or if it's been a while since you joined in, you can jump in and say hello, do some intros. Before we get started, we should say we are subject to the CNCF Code of Conduct, which in honor of George, just be excellent to each other is the name of the game there. Does anyone want to jump in with some intros?
Yeah, hey, I'm Ryan. I'm a senior engineer at Capital One, and I do have something to add to the agenda, if possible,
Excellent.
about an action I would like to add, if possible.
Great. Yeah, sure.
And I can share a link. I created an issue. I can share that link. That would be helpful.
That would be helpful, but awesome. Thanks. And I think David, that's the one you were talking about. Great. We'll add that one. And hey, welcome. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else ready for some intros? Natalie, yeah, go for it.
I think I can just say hi, introduce myself, since this is my first time joining this meeting. I work at Altruist as a staff cloud engineer and currently working on certain things related to this community work. So thank you for opportunity to be part of that, of this community, sorry. Thank you.
Sounds great. Thanks for joining. Thanks for jumping in. Okay, any other intros? All right. So what we've got in the meeting link here, I will put I usually put the meeting link in the chat, put it in here so that it gets into our recording here. We've got a weekly report here. This is just what's been going on, issues and PRs open and closed since last time we got together. I know in the meantime, we've had KubeCon going on also, a little bit of a custodian representation there. Kapil, is there anything you'd like to say from any of the KubeCon stuff?
I don't know when the video is going to be up. I can drop a link to the slides I used. So they're here as well. Wasn't anything earth-shattering. Let's see. I'll do that in a second until I figure this thing out. Here we go. I've been traveling for like 2 weeks, so I honestly don't remember. I barely remember my name at the moment. But those are the slides. I don't know that there was anything in particular of note on that stuff. It's mostly just like a review on PRs and some of the things that we've had done. Done a lot of work on release engineering, new providers in CCLN left and 10-Set Cloud, and roadmap on some of the things with regards to doing preventative controls with CloudFormation hooks for AWS, and slowing down the Azure SDKs, more resources for GCP, and for the shift left stuff, getting CloudFormation support in, and treating shift left as distinct from CloudFormation hooks, just on the basis of one as a preventative from the API layer and one as a preventative on the source layer.
Thanks. I don't see any. So if anybody sees, other than that stuff, if there are any particular issues or PRs that seem particularly interesting to folks, or you have questions about them, feel free to. I've stayed at the mop. Feel free to jump in, or you all should be able to reference specific issues here, and we can talk about them more. Otherwise, we can go to the one that Ryan was asking about, which I guess, Kapil, it sounds like you already took a look at it. Pratyusha, looks like you did also. So update environment seems like the way to go with that one.
Cool. Yeah, I was just looking for general feedback since this is my first kind of change I'd be making here. And can I make, so when we do something like update environment, can I have it update like anything available within that function, the update function?
Yep. There's like a
Cool.
technique as well for like, if there, I don't know how many parameters there are, there's like 50 parameters, and then they potentially change. We do this thing where we like basically pass them like a JSON arbitrary map, but we use the SDK's shape to validate it. I'll see if I can find an example. I don't know how many parameters there are. There's only like a couple, then you can just enumerate them in the schema, but there's a lot.
Okay. I think there are about 20 or so. I'm not completely sure. But yeah, if there's an example, that'd be great. But if not, I can figure it out.
I will.
Okay.
I'm not sure who's got the background.
Yeah, I think there was Pratish, but he just went mute. Yeah, we can try to. So Kapil, you're going to look for an example. I know we've got some existing update or modify actions across other resources that may have PRs that are useful references there for different ways of attacking it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks for coming right out of the gate with a with an issue and a PR and it works down. That's awesome.
Yeah, no problem.
I've had a few more people pop in too. So following this discussion, if anyone's got an introduction, wants to jump in and say hi, feel free, raise your hand, or just start talking. In either case, welcome to the meeting.
AJ, I will jump in. My name is Sonia Guardian. This is the first meeting I attend, though I've been using Custodian for, I guess, almost 3 years. I participate sometimes in this Slack conversation, being annoying to you guys, but so now I know what to expect. I'm here. Make me maybe entertain. Let's see.
Well, thanks for coming. You mentioned it just like, oh yeah, I've been in the Slack. You've been all over the place. The Slack, the Gitter, that's not you're offering answers, asking questions. It's great. Glad to see you here. Thanks. Okay, so we were just talking about adding an action to Airflow to modify to update an environment. Here we're just looking at other PRs that are open and closed, PRs and issues. If there's anything particular worth discussing, or if anyone has comments or questions about anything in there. One thing is, and only Sonia, because you mentioned the asking questions in Slack, what I'm trying to keep in mind, and everyone, since we're recording the call, this will kind of keep me honest, is if we have some questions come in that seem like it would be really nice to be able to just point someone to a doc that would answer that question, trying to keep in mind that little doc PRs are a good thing. So if there's anything that anybody on this call or anybody watching the recording after the fact, you go to look at something and you realize, oh, this filter, this action isn't super clear. Doc PRs are super welcome. If you're not sure how to get to the point where you could submit a doc PR, asking in Slack and saying, I'd like to contribute a doc update is probably the easiest way to get some help, because making the docs better is happy time for everybody. And the questions that feed into those doc updates are great too. And Sonia, thanks for your help, because I know you've asked questions but also answered plenty.
I look over, sometimes they're like, oh, I don't know. And some others are like, oh, I know that one. I know that one.
For sure. Pratyush, the issue that you were running into with the caching stuff, I know that was a bit of a gnarly one that might be a bit deep to get into on this call, but maybe it's a great time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I was kind of meaning to ask you how to go about the test case on that, because the
Hmm.
test would have to be pulling data from cache. I saw there was a setting that said cache is true that I think might be worth taking a look at, but I'm not sure how to add a test that would look up things from the cache itself. Kapil,
Yeah,
any idea that?
I think that we would be able to do it if we had multiple policies and in the config we gave it an in-memory cache option. I think we could do this. I might be
Got
able to
it.
get
Okay.
a failing test together to recap, a quick recap of this issue is that we have a KMS related filter that we can use against resources like SNS or SQS and try to make assertions about the key that was used to encrypt a resource. That is looking at one target resource like SNS in your case or any other resource. And then it needs to make another lookup against KMS keys. And if we already have KMS keys in the cache, and we have keys that we're referencing in an SNS topic purely by the alias, it wasn't able to look up that key in the cache.
Yep.
So that's
And
where
it
we were
would-
running into the issue. And it was like a specific confluence of factors. We needed to have keys in the cache. We needed to reference them only by alias. And in that unique combination of factors, we would whiff on the lookup and then it would report nothing.
Yeah, the cache would return an empty list, which and custodian would print a warning message saying this alias wasn't found, although that alias was there in the account. Null cache in tests.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in one of the, so Pratusha, I know you opened the PR and then I was thinking, oh, I know I pushed something to it and I think ended up rolling it back with adding the memory cache. But yeah, because it does use a null cache by default, so we would never reveal that issue. But I think we could still rig it up. It's related. Okay, but yeah, we will. I'll try. So if I try to get a failing test or get a test committed for that one that would have reproduced the issue without the change, maybe that's a good start. And then hopefully with this change, it fixes it. But in your environment, is this thing working now as is, or are you still running some tests? Oh, I may have lost Ritush. Okay. That's a fun one anyway. But in the meantime, can we bring up copying related tags? Yeah. I'm not, is there, oh, that just got reopened. So David, do you have something, what's going on with this one?
Yeah, I think I get it. If it's going to turn up multiple RDSs or something, and we got to fetch them, it looks like that's what that error is coming from. I can take a look.
Okay.
Okay. It looks like somebody tried to fix it before, but I'm not sure sort of context if it no, it looks like I tried to fix it, but I don't know, but it doesn't seem like that worked. So was it directly on RDS or was it RDS cluster? David, you're muted if you're trying to talk. It was David. Yeah, it looks like David's out.
Okay. Well, I guess that this one we
I'm
just
wondering if
need,
one of the Cap ones VPNs having issues
Got it.
because we lost Pradesh and David.
At the same time.
Yeah.
And you're not on VPN?
I am, but I'm in Chicago, So I think we're on a different one.
Okay, well, I guess we'll try to follow up on the issue or on Slack for this one. Let's drop the note in.
All right, that sounds good. We'll look at that one.
Oh, there's an example policy there. Okay.
Well, we did have. Oh, this was yeah, this one went through. Cool. All right. Other than those, does anybody else have any particular questions? Fun PRs or issues to raise? I do have a question. Oh, sorry. What was that, Kapil?
There's one thing that's coming. Like we're getting a couple more GCP PRs, and there's something we're probably going to have to bite the bullet on that may affect backward compatibility. I probably should get an issue proposal. Like originally, GCP resources, we treated them as global because they had global discovery endpoints for most of the things. It seems like GCP is moving away from that to more regional, like resources that are only contained in a single region, like APIs that only look at resources in a particular region, and which makes sense and it's totally fine. But some of the PRs that were coming up are trying to mimic the global semantic by effectively fetching all the regions and then get all the resources from each region. I think what we want to do is pass through on the -r region flag to GCP, and then just continue with the alias on all. What that's going to mean for existing resources that is a little bit unclear. So I think most of them will be fine. Like it will have compatibility. Like the question is, if we have regional resources and you don't pass a region, and we change the semantic on an existing one that was treated as global and we switch it to regional, how does that affect things? And it's still not 100% clear, but effectively we're going to have to document it, and maybe we use this opportunity to. I noticed that on the docs we still have the GCP provider label as beta, so we can also use this to take off the beta label as we do this change. But that was the only thing that sort of came up as significant behind.
Does that have any relation? I remember in a while back, I remember folks, GCP users talking about how they would run policies and see resources from across multiple projects when they didn't expect to. Is that at all related to that, or it's a totally separate concern? Okay.
That is separate. You don't generally see that. The GCP works differently since the principal can have different access to different environments. But typically we only operate on a given project that is passed in typically the environment variable. And so we don't typically, unless you're using C7 and org, you would typically see multi resources across multiple projects.
Gotcha. All right, cool. Pratyush and David, you both got kicked. You got kicked together.
Oh, really? There's
Yeah,
something
yeah.
going on with our corporate network.
Yeah, but we were talking a little bit about this guy, about this 6667 with the.
Oh,
So David, it sounded like you're still hitting that, and I think Kapil, you were asking if it was with clusters or instances or what. Oh, you're mute though.
There's an example policy there, so that's enough for us to take back into it.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Oh yeah, for RDS. Okay. Okay. Do Pratyush or David, do you have either of you have anything to add there, or just it's still open? It's still an issue. There's the sample showing it.
yeah, it's still an issue. I haven't got a chance to look into it yet, but it's still happening. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'll try to take a look this week and see. I remember Kapil had sent a PR for this issue. a while back, so I'm not sure if that's something. Yeah, I'll take a look.
Okay.
Don't have much details yet.
Okay, that's cool.
Also, a lot of people have shown interest on the DynamoDB PR that Kapil had sent a while back. I think it's still open and some work. This one, it's about retrieving values from a DynamoDB table. Yeah, the values from support.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, a few folks showed some interest in this. I think there is some more work that needs to happen. Is there anything that might be blocking this PR except for the comments that you have mentioned about exporting queries into the output file, output location for audit purposes?
Feel you're mute.
I think it needs unit tests, and then we also need to make sure that whatever values we did query get stuff in the output. Really about it. It would be nice to get this in, but if anyone wants to work on it, let me know. I'm happy to defer.
I'm wondering if it's a related request. We had something come in. It may have been through Slack, looking for lookups against secrets manager, I think. Yeah, that would be a separate mechanism though, I think.
The other, sorry, there's one more thing about this, and that was making the value filter specific to each provider, so that we didn't have to like we have certain semantics around like value from S3 and other things for the US. But the way we wire in value provider currently, it's like it's wired in as global effectively. So it'd be nice if that we're able to customize it on a provider basis, so we're not leaking in to other providers. That's actually been an issue somewhat recently. In the last few months, we've been picking up Bodo dependencies effectively for the other providers, and we want to try to trim down on that. The actual trim down plan is actually just going to be, it's a bit too hard to keep the code, the existing structure, cleanly importable from the other providers without Bodo over time. So just moving out to creating a C7N core package, that is, I think, the goal. But that's going to be a multi-PR, probably multi-month effort to get that done.
Would an incremental step there be just like to have a values from in just a separate core values from, and then have an AWS one that works as it does today, just imports and extends?
Yeah, the question is like, what's the wiring look like? Is it going to be like, do we let the providers like poke at the pipe as they get registered to sort of like inject that type of thing? Might be the easiest way to do it. And yeah, right now it's hard coded into the base registry if I remember correctly. So yeah, mechanics aren't exactly how I think are still open ended, but that seemed like a reasonable path.
Cool. All right, thanks for bringing that one up though. Anything else? Oh, I did have a question for the group about sort of related to this now thing. Does anyone on this call use now as a tag value to in real-time policies? You do, Pratish?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to show like a last modified or something like that. So do you use those? You run those out of like CloudTrail mode or something?
Yep, CloudTrail
Okay.
mode.
Okay, you're running them out of CloudTron mode. And where you set the now, do you have just the curly braces now? Is that the entire value, or do you have something else? And are you doubling up on curly braces to kind of defer the evaluation of that now, or no?
Let me check that 1 second. Yeah, I think we have double curly braces on
Okay.
now. We used to have single curly braces, but it was broken at one point, and we decided to move everything to double curly braces.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's I was curious if people have been sort of organically coming across that. I know it's come up in a couple issues or discussions too, that if you have a Lambda mode policy and you have that now, it's getting interpolated when you provision. So it would be kind of like populating with your provision time instead of the runtime.
Yeah, we
I
have
didn't know if people
something
were.
like this.
You got that? Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the way to do it now. So this PR is kind of trying to avoid the need for that. While that'll still work, we just it feels like a very minor foot gun, maybe like a gentle padded foot hammer to run into that now. But I didn't know. So if there was, would there ever be a time that you or anyone else on this call can imagine actually wanting the existing behavior where the single brace interpolates like the provision time of the function? Can you think of a time when you would want that? Or you pretty much, if you're doing it, you always want that runtime? Silence is fine. I wasn't. No, is that the now?
We missed it just now.
Yes, love it. Yeah, I couldn't think of a case where we would want the behavior of interpolating the provision time, but I didn't know if it would be fixing a problem that created a different problem. You never know.
When you
Or if
say
it's gnarly.
interpolating the deployment time, what does that mean?
Yeah, that means the way it runs now, the reason that you have to do the double brace is because when you do custodian run on that Lambda mode policy, it resolves that now reference when you go to provision the function.
Got
So
it.
and so you need those double braces to make sure that it doesn't do that, so that
Got
it can
it. Yeah,
fill in
yeah,
the now when the policy runs. And that feels like what people would generally want. I just didn't know if I was oversimplifying it. And maybe sometimes people actually want the provisioning time date stamp. See you later, Darren. Thanks. But it sounds like you don't.
Yeah.
And that works for me. Anything else of interest?
The KMS key test, sorry, I got kicked out at that point, but what was the proposed way to go for it?
I think so. I would be curious to see if the PR as it stands right now works in your environment and actually and avoids the issue that you were running into.
Yep.
And I'm also going to try to get a test in that uses the in-memory cache to kind of recreate the issue that you were seeing without the change, and hopefully fix it with the change just to confirm that it's doing what we think it's doing. So if I come from the test side and you come from the real environment side and it works in both cases, then hopefully we feel good pushing it.
Yeah, I got a chance to test it in the problematic accounts, and looks like it's fixing the issue as of now with the new code in place. But I haven't got a chance to test whether the old behavior is similar to, like, it's not failing on something else.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll try to get that tested today, and I'll get back to you on that, the PR.
Okay. Thanks. David, yeah, we were talking about the copy related tag issue. It sounds like there's not, I mean, if you have anything to add to it, any specific comments, go for it. But it sounded like we had an issue, but you said you're still running into it.
Yeah, and I noticed in the notes, maybe in the issue or maybe in one of the PRs, that someone was hitting us with Redshift as well, which I didn't confirm. But it's an odd one.
Okay, you'll have to find the Redshift one too, because it could be
Yeah,
the
I'll
same
look for that.
thing.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. Because now that you mention it, I do remember seeing something with that go by. Oh yeah, I think that's 80. Is that 8501? Oh yeah. Oh, see, so this one said said RDS in the policy. Yeah, I remember this confusing me actually. So it said RDS in the issue description, but then the details were all talking about Redshift. So it may be the same issue. Maybe someone hitting it with multiple resources.
Right, it could be. Yeah, thanks.
Cool.
Yeah,
All right.
like I think the fix that got originally proposed for this was trying to fix it in specific to RDS, but it might be better for us to try to fix it lower down inside of query.py. Like if we know it's a scalar server-side filter that we just and we have a list of identities that we just loop through them. I think that was trying to prevent like exploiting on API calls if there was like 50 of them or something. But I don't know that point solutions are gonna fix this holistically.
Okay, cool. So there may be, you're thinking it would be a fix at the query manager level rather than at the per resource level?
Yeah, I just like
Okay.
we tried to do it at a per resource level, but like copy related could go from a couple different either side, and it happens across potentially multiple cases. It might be better just to get a holistic fix at a lower level.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, David and Pritush for that one. And Ryan, I guess you thought your network was safe.
Yeah, got me too.
All right. Any other questions or issues here? I feel like I need to do the George going once, going twice routine. But we can give you all some time back. But thanks for joining. Thanks for the questions, the answers, the ideas. And we'll see you all in Slack and next time. Take care,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks, all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.